Huawei. It's the Chinese telecom company that pushed its way onto the global stage, becoming the world's largest provider of networking gear, the #2 smartphone maker, and one of the biggest proponents of 5G technology. But as China and the US face off in an increasingly ugly trade war, Huawei finds itself at the center of the storm.
Huawei is something that's very dangerous. You look at what they've done from a security standpoint, from a military standpoint, it's very dangerous.
Highlighting founder and CEO Ren Zhengfei's connections to the Communist Party and former life as an engineer for the People's Liberation Army, the US has accused Huawei of being a powerful tool in China's spying arsenal.
If we were behind, Trump wouldn't need to make so many efforts to attack us. He attacks us because we are now more advanced than them.
Despite denials from Ren and the Chinese government, the US, along with Japan, Australia and Taiwan, have banned Huawei equipment. And Trump has blacklisted the company, cutting it off from the US software and semiconductors it needs to make its products. Tech giants Google, Intel Core, Qualcomm, Xilinx and Broadcom have told their employees they will not supply Huawei until further notice.
The US keeps abusing its national power to willfully smear and crack down on other countries' enterprises, including Chinese enterprises.
That isn't all Ren is fighting. In December 2018, his daughter and Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou was detained in Vancouver at the request of the US.
A grand jury in New York has returned an indictment alleging 13 additional crimes committed by Huawei, its CFO, its affiliate in Iran, and one of its subsidiaries.
Meng remains in Canada under house arrest until the courts determine her fate. Connected and contested, Huawei says it simply wants to connect the world in the next technological revolution. But with the US determined to check what it claims is a major cybersecurity risk, the company's future has been thrown into doubt. Huawei's vast campus here in southern China is emblematic of the company's towering ambitions. CEO and founder Ren Zhengfei acknowledges that ambition and the company's future is now in doubt. But he also remains defiant in the face of mounting US pressure. President Trump has suggested that Huawei could be a factor in any trade deal between the US and China. How likely is that, do you think, from your perspective?
The US has never bought products from us, so how can they negotiate with us? Even if the US wants to buy our products in the future, I may not sell to them. There's no need for a negotiation. I will ignore Trump, then with whom can he negotiate? If he calls me, I may not answer, but he doesn't even have my number. I see his tweets and I think it's laughable because they're self-contradictory.
President Trump has described Huawei as a dangerous company. He said, and I'm quoting, "From a security standpoint and from a military standpoint, this is a dangerous company." How do you respond to that?
5G is not the atomic bomb. 5G is just a tool to transmit information. The content transmitted has nothing to do with the transmission tool. It's just like a microphone. You can't say a microphone is a dangerous tool because it can transmit voices, but the content of the voice, the person who speaks into the microphone, could be dangerous. How come the tool is considered dangerous?
You've said in the past that you think President Trump is a great president. Do you still think he's a great president?
Trump is a great president because he tells the whole world that Huawei is a great company and not to sell components to us, which is a promotion for us. We can't even keep up with supplies as orders have increased. I think he's a great president as he promotes how great Huawei is.
The decision to blacklist Huawei by the US is being framed by some US lawmakers as essentially a death sentence for the company. Do you see this as a question of life and death for Huawei?
Huawei now is like a plane with so many holes after being attacked. But we still don't want to die, we want to fly home. So that's where we are.
对吧？美国把我们放到实体名单里面以后。
The US has put us on the banned list, so we might have some difficulties. But we want to fix the holes and adjust the route while we are flying.
修补我们漏洞，一边调整我们这个航线，我们一定能活下来。
We will definitely be able to survive and be able to lead in areas like 5G technology.
有些问题上，我们还会是在世界上绝对领先。
The list of companies that supply Huawei with components but also software that are now cutting off those supplies is growing. Of course, Qualcomm, Intel, ARM, Panasonic, Google as well. So I guess the question is, for how long can Huawei survive without those supplies of both components and software?
美国采取了极端的手段来对待华为公司呢。
The US has taken very extreme measures to target Huawei. The US is so powerful, but why are they so scared of us? I think they overestimate Huawei. Such a small company, how come it's been paid so much attention around the world?
世界上这么被重视呢？我认为我觉得我很兴奋。我们被重视。
I'm excited that we have so much attention, but I think they exaggerate our role in the world. We haven't done any promotion yet, but someone has already done such a great job of promoting us. I'm so grateful.
Are you looking to change your supply chains at all to ensure that you have the components that you need? Is that a process that you're looking at now?
这供应链呢，我们还是要保持我们。
We will maintain our existing supply chain and will continue to place orders with US companies, but if they can no longer supply us, the portion of our own in-house products will increase.
我们自己供应自己的订单的数量，我们就提上升了。
We will find our own way to solve our problems.
解决自己的问题。
The critics of Huawei would say that you've got to where you are through intellectual property theft and government support. What is your response to that?
我们偷美国明天的技术，就美国都没有做出来。
The US has not developed that technology, so from where should I steal it? It's more likely that they steal our technology. Now we are leading the US. If we were lagging behind, Trump would not need to make so many efforts to attack us. He attacks us because we are now more advanced than them.
In the past, you faced legal challenges from Cisco, from Motorola, from T-Mobile. What does that say about the culture at the company, and what steps have you taken to address some of the issues that came up as a result of those legal cases?
我觉得首先这些东西都有法庭判决。
First of all, I think all these cases have been heard in court. We should respect the court's judgments. We require all of our employees not to do anything wrong in this regard.
这个公司的技术的内容的极其庞大。 我们总共首先
We have a huge amount of technology. If asking us what contributions we've made for human beings, we would say that we have over 90,000 patents. Many of them are patents we've obtained recently for information technology.
其中我们有11500多项核心专利是在美国注册的。
We've made huge contributions to the information foundation of the whole society. Among those, over 11,500 core patents were filed in the US, and the US government has approved them. So we have patents in the US.
理解华为对人类的贡献，对吧？理解我们的贡献，对吧？
If they could understand the contribution Huawei has made for humanity, the dispute may be resolved.
If at a moment of national crisis, the government came to you and said, we need your help, we need your cyber skills, we need access to your network, because it's for the good of the country, for the good of the government, for the good of the Chinese people, how would you respond?
我们绝对不会安装后门的，这点。
We absolutely would never install any back doors. We would never do that. We serve human beings. We don't serve intelligence agencies. Why should we install back doors?
What are the practical steps for denying a request like that in China?
我们从来就没有发生过事情。德国的报纸
We've never done that. A German newspaper released an article saying they could not find any back doors in Huawei's systems. In the UK, Huawei was under the world's strictest scrutiny, so we could earn the country's trust.
最严厉的审查。
Under such scrutiny, it was as if we took off all our clothes to prove we have nothing to hide. So the UK agreed to use our equipment.
Coming up, Huawei's founder tells me how he went from soldier to global tycoon. And he opens up about his relationship with the daughter held under house arrest in Canada and now facing extradition to the US. He tells me about those early years, his struggles to start the business, and he opens up about his family.
This is my father. He was a middle school principal.
Okay.
This is my whole family.
Lovely smile. Yeah.
This is my mother. This is me. This is my whole family.
Lovely smile. Yeah.
This is my mother. This is me. That's me when I was in the military talking to a French engineer.
How did you go from being an engineer in the People's Liberation Army to building and setting up Hua Wei as a company in 1987?
我的历史分成两段，一段呢就是我们在计划经济这个体制里面。
My history can be divided into two parts. The first part was when I served in the military, when China was a planned economy before the big military layoffs.
这个体制里面呢，我也是顶级优秀人员，而且顶级的这个红人。
I was in the military elite, but we all got laid off out of the blue, throwing us into the ocean of the market economy. I didn't understand the market economy at all.
这个大海里面就呛水，一口口的呛水。
We choked on tons of water in that ocean. We didn't understand what the market economy was. We lost lots of money because we trusted people too much. We couldn't afford to hire a lawyer, so I read law books. Afterwards, I realized two important things about the market economy. One is the supplier and one is the customer.
What were your ambitions for the company back in 1987?
我还不知道目标，那个时候连饭都没得吃，我都记得很清楚。
I didn't have any goals. At that time, we didn't even have enough food. I clearly recall when my daughter was very little, her mother often told me that she needed to go to the market at around 5 a.m. to buy stale fish and shrimp. The dead fish and shrimp was sold at a very cheap price in Guangdong. She cooked it for our daughter to provide protein. She said without enough protein, children cannot grow healthy. We could only maintain the minimum standard of living, so we did not have any goals. The goal was only to survive. We didn't even know whether we could survive. My most famous slogan at the company is survive, survive and survive. Even today, when we are like a damaged airplane, our slogan is still to survive rather than any great ambition.
Did you ever imagine that you'd be sitting here today in this position?
其实有时候一个人啊，没有欲望。
Actually, if people don't desire much, they can be more capable. I don't desire much. As you can see, I don't want to take too much money. I only hold a small portion of company shares. People say I'm rich, but back in 2000, I didn't even own an apartment. The apartment I rented with my wife was only half the size of this room. It faced west and had no air conditioner. There was no turning back for us. If we went backwards, it would be poverty. If we went forward, it would still be poverty. But if we kept going, there might be a slim chance of hope, while there was absolutely no hope if we went backwards. So we had to keep walking forward, walking and walking. All of a sudden, we saw the sunshine. We suddenly realized we were at the top of the Himalayas.
How did you manage to go from behind your competitors, like Ericsson, like Nokia, to being the leader in 5G? What steps were implemented? How did you manage to make that leap?
首先呢，我们是把别人喝咖啡的时间都用在工作上了。
First of all, we spent time at work when others were spending time having coffee. In general, we worked harder than others. Secondly, we distributed what we earned to everyone, rather than keeping it in our own pockets, so we could attract many good scientists and talented people to join us.
Do you have succession plans in place?
继任计划早就有，那肯定早就有。
We've had a succession plan for a long time. We won't give the company to one single person. We'll give it to a group with subgroups.
群体的下面还有群体，一群一群的套着这个群体，是像一个链式反应一样。
It's like a giant succession plan, not a single person succession plan.
这是孟晚舟。
This is Meng Wanzhou.
Wow, look at this one. Beautiful. When was this? 这个是什么时候拍的？
应该是去年初吧。
It was taken last year, early last year.
去年拍的。
Do you feel like you've become closer to Meng Wanzhou?
是，他感到家庭更重要了。
Yes, she felt the importance of family.
So in a strange way, it's brought you closer and the family closer.
是的，以前我们女儿都不怎么理我们。
Yes, my daughter was barely talking to me before.
Your daughter faces extradition to the US from Canada, and she's facing charges in the US of fraud and breaking sanctions. Those are the allegations from the US side. President Trump has suggested that he could intervene to help your daughter. Presumably you'd welcome that kind of intervention.
这个加拿大是在执法的这个过程中是违法的。
Canada violated the law with this arrest. We will point out these violations during the court hearings.
我们还是在法庭上澄清加拿大政府违法的这个执法过程中的违法问题。
Meng Wanzhou has never committed any fraud, which we've already made clear.
说了，将来在法庭上是可以拿出，双方都可以拿出证据来的。我们是
Two sides can present evidence in court. We have evidence. Meng's case is politically motivated.
Do you think the legal action against Canada and the US is helping your cause, or is there a risk that it inflames tensions?
那问题是加拿大、美国。
The problem is that it's the US and Canada who sued us first, then we countersued. Why are we, the ones who followed suit, considered to be the ones disrupting the social order?
这个秩序呢？那你知道扰动社会你为什么要起诉我呢？
If you knew it would disrupt the social order, why would you sue us? Why shouldn't we file a counterclaim after you sued us? They can't be that arbitrary. The US is a fair, open and transparent country. I have my right, you have your right to sue me, I have my right to defend myself.
Have you spoken to your daughter recently?
有啊，
How is she?
还读书啊，她在这个监狱里面
She's studying her PhD while under house arrest.
正在读博士啊。
Coming up, Hua Wei blacklisted. Ren Zhengfei on the impact of being cut off from major suppliers like Qualcomm, Intel and Google. The Trump administration's decision to choke off supplies of components and services to Huawei was a major escalation in the US campaign against the company. Ren Zhengfei tells me how he thinks that will impact their ambitions to be the global #1 smartphone maker, and also, maybe more importantly, what it means for their leadership in the 5G space. I just want to also bring it back to some of the original topics we talked about at the beginning around the supplies. We talked about how some of the major suppliers, like Intel, like Qualcomm, like ARM, Panasonic, and Google, are restricting their supply of components and software to Huawei. Just explain to us how you weather that storm.
美国呢是管辖的是美国公司。
The US manages its own companies. The US is not the international police. They can't manage the whole world. The rest of the world decides whether they should work with us based on their own business interests and positions.
交往，对吧？那确定和我们不交往的公司呢，那我们就要去补这个洞。
If some companies don't want to work with us, it's like a hole in the airplane. We're working to fix the hole, but the airplane is still able to fly.
就是一半用华为自己的芯片，一半购买美国的芯片。
Of the chips we've been using, half are from US companies and half we produce ourselves.
如果说当美国对我们自由多一点的时候呢，我们
If the US imposes further restrictions on us, we'll reduce our purchases from the US and use more of our own chips.
一点。但是如果美国的这个公司得到这个华盛顿的
If American companies have permission from Washington to sell to us, we will continue to buy from them.
What extent of damage, how much damage do you expect to be felt in the consumer division of the business? So smartphones and laptops, which depend on US chips but also US software.
增长呢有可能达不到我们预计以前认为的这
We might miss our expected growth target, but we are still growing.
在最艰难的战争环境中
Being able to grow in the toughest battle environment, that just reflects how great we are.
Does the actions that the US has taken, does that mean that you're going to have to ramp up that R&D spending even more to develop your own in-house products and components?
过去呢，我们这个在销售的时候。
We set our sale prices relatively high. Our current prices are higher than Ericsson and Nokia, so we can make lots of money.
那我们赚的钱比较多，只要我们还有饭吃。
As long as we can afford to live and as long as we can survive, we would like to invest more in R&D. Even during the most difficult time, we still need to invest in the future. Otherwise, we don't have a future. You had bragging rights earlier this year. You overtook Apple as the #2 smartphone maker. You saw smartphone sales in the first quarter jump by about 50%. And of course, you do have that goal of becoming the #1 smartphone maker in the world. Does that goal now have to be shelved?
那当然呢，苹果是这么大，对吧？
And Apple is as big as this. We became a peach over the past few years, a bit bigger than an apple. We might become a plum in coming years, smaller than an apple, but still edible. A plum is just a little bit sour and bitter.
带一点酸味，苦涩。我可以变大，也可以变小。
We can become bigger or smaller. We are not a public company. We are not only pursuing growth or profit. It's good enough for us to just survive.
我们存活下来就是不错的。
There have been calls by some in China for Beijing to retaliate against Apple. Is that an action that China should be looking at taking?
绝对不会，这是第一点。
That will not happen, first of all. And second of all, if it happens, I'll be the first to protest. Apple is the world's leading company. If there was no Apple, there would be no mobile internet. If there was no Apple to help show us the world, we would not see the beauty of this world. Apple is my teacher. It's advancing in front of us. As a student, why should I oppose my teacher? I would never do that.
Well, you've talked about having a 2-year lead in terms of 5G on your competitors. Does that lead get eroded?
Definitely. If we slow down, it's because the wing of the airplane has lots of holes. If we fly slowly but others fly fast, of course they can catch us up. But we will keep fixing the holes. We will fly fast again once all the holes are fixed.
A lot of this, maybe all of this, comes down to a question of trust, and from the US side, a mistrust of Huawei and of China. Do you think there are additional steps, beyond the steps you've already taken, additional steps that you could take to improve that trust? Whether that is restructuring the company, listing the company, is there anything you can do to build on that?
We don't need to go public. We are very clean. So we don't worry about what other people say. We won't go public. You can wait. I think it won't take long for Huawei to go public, maybe 3,000 years.
What exactly have you put in place in terms of contingencies? Can you just give us a few more details around the contingencies that have been put in place?
核心像这个飞机的发动机油箱里面，有可能我们做了准备了。
We might have contingency plans for the core of the airplane, the engine and fuel tank, but we may not have a plan for the wings. We need to review the situation all over again and fix those problems. You can come back to interview us in 2 or 3 years to see if we still exist. If we're gone in 2 or 3 years, please remember to bring a flower and put it on our grave.
非常感谢，非常感谢，谢谢，谢谢。